December 4th Town Board Committee of the Whole meeting,
14th.
December 14th. As our IT person has announced, the Zoom meeting numbers are wrong. It's been posted on the
Agenda.
agenda, has been posted on the website, and it's also posted on the community channel with the new number. Will you please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Michael Safone, Fourth Ward.
Stefan Cracker, Fifth Ward.
Ann Schurshin, 6th Ward. Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town.
Megan Clementi, Vanderwater.
John Bazis, Town Supervisor. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. On tonight's agenda, there's two presentations for the Committee of the Whole. Presentation 1 is Ginsburg Development, Labella discussing Casper Kill South Road Development. Number 2 be a presentation by Steve Tinkelman for 20 Manchester Road. And on the town board, first thing on the agenda is Poughkeepsie Day School, which will be tabled to a further date so we can get some more information out and dig in further to a lot of the questions that were brought up last week, so that will not be discussed. Item 2, legal documents regarding self-storage, and we have special consents. Special consent 1, the resignation of Gershom Sins for the Police Department. SC2, resignation of Charlie Parakis from Recreation Leader. SC3, residential water tenancy agreement for 10 Maple Road. SC4, notification claim, Engler versus the town. With that, I'd like to start with the first presentation, Ginsburg Development.
Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening. My name is Karen Lobruto. I'm a senior planner with Labella Associates. Okay. Good evening. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Karen Lobruto. I'm a senior planner with Labella Associates. We're here representing the applicant Town Center Poughkeepsie LLC in its application to the town board for Crown Heights Center Overlay District designation at the South Road development. So as I mentioned, we're here seeking a designation of the overlay. We need this Crown Heights Overlay District designation in advance of being able to go to the planning board for site plan application approval and other land use approvals. Tonight we'll present the concept plan, and we respectfully request that you consider the designation in the meetings to come. So the site is located at 2264 to 2270 South Road. It's adjacent to the Casper Kill Golf Course. It's 11 acres. It's currently zoned for business highway and residential 2 acre, a small portion. That small portion constitutes a 1.78 acre lot line change that would be required for the development. The site is currently dilapidated. It's a former cement plant and retail uses that are underutilized. The proposed project is for a mixed-use development comprised of 6 buildings, a grocery store, 3 mixed-use residential and commercial buildings, and 2 commercial standalone buildings. Total commercial square footage would be 85,400 square feet, and it's a total of 26 dwelling units. So here we have the concept plan. The largest building would be the grocery store. It's a major retailer in the back with apartments above. The next 2 buildings in the middle of the site are mixed residential and commercial with retail on the ground floor and residential above. The 2 buildings closest to the entrance would be restaurants on both sides, and restaurant and retail, sorry. You can see the open space area here in the southeast corner. It's got terrace seating that utilizes the natural grade of the project site. We've also incorporated wider than normal sidewalks and areas for benches and other passive recreation space. So the CHCO designation requires that we show consistency with the purpose of the overlay district, as well as that we are compliant with the permitted uses, and also that we are compliant with the bulk and dimensional requirements. So I've summarized the purpose to redevelop this area with traditional neighborhood development or T&D mixed-use development. As I've mentioned, the site's underutilized, and we're providing here mixed-use development of exactly the type the town has prescribed. You ask for varied architectural forms, pedestrian-friendly, green spaces. We've offered a development here that has 4 stories or less and varied buildings, pedestrian space throughout, and as I mentioned before, the terraced open space in the southeast corner. We are working to screen parking with landscaping. We're creating vehicular interconnectivity through street calming and safe connections. The requirement of the zone says there has to be a critical mass to support the retail uses, and so we have, dwelling units and retail so that we can ensure success of the overall development site. We want to make sure that the site design is compliant with the natural scope of the land, and as I mentioned, we utilize the grade and the slope to our advantage to create this terraced open space area in the back. So as far as permitted uses, we're seeking grocery store, apartments, restaurants, retail businesses, service businesses. All of these are permitted uses in this district. As far as site design goes, we meet the minimum area, lot frontage, and lot depth. We have no greater than the 4 stories that are allowed, or 65 feet. There's a minimum non-retail density of at least 25%. We're offering 58. There's a maximum residential density of 44. We're offering 26. There's a maximum single retail use density of 70,000. We are just at that. And there's a minimum open space requirement of 10%, and we meet that as well. So in conclusion, we feel that the South Road development meets the purposes of the Crown Heights Overlay Development District, and we think it's an integrated development that uses the natural slope of the land to provide unique characteristics for open space and mixed residential and commercial opportunities. We respectfully request that the town board make a designation for the Crown Heights Center District overlay at this site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any of the board members have any questions, Jeff?
Yeah,
What's the-
it's in my ward. I had the opportunity to sit down with the property owner previously and take a look at it. This property, they've owned it for a number of years. There's been different iterations of what they've thought about doing there. Now, in retrospect, years later, you look at it and say, geez, I kind of wish what they had proposed before had gotten underway. The real estate market collapsed sort of right around that time anyway, so it is what it is. But what they're coming back in with fits what the plan was and fits it really well. It's something that I think we need in that part of the Route 9 corridor. It's balanced. I like the residential component in it. For whatever reason, the town never used to allow residential over commercial, but when you go to a main street anywhere, there's a storefront and there's the apartment above, and like cities and villages everywhere. I think it's good that we allow that now, and I think it's something that should be encouraged. We talk about town centers. We don't have a town center. We have a bunch of different places in the town that have different levels of development. This is sort of centralized on Route 9. It's got the ability to be an actual town center, and I think the property owner and the developer is excellent. I've seen their projects in other parts of the area, and everything is done top-notch, really well. The follow-through is tremendous. Martin Ginsberg, who's the guy at the top, the thing that always struck me about him is like the detail matters. It matters that it's done right. It matters that it's perfect. It matters that the things fit correctly. So I really like this project. I hope the rest of the board is supportive. I think it would be a good injection of commercial into the Route 9 corridor, into the Spack and Gill district where we need it.
I feel like they're gonna bring a new and different mix to what we have here in the town. So I think it fits well, and that Crown Heights Center overlay, when we put it all together years back, the idea was to make something that would be nice where you'd want to go park your car, walk around, shop, maybe live in there. And this is the beginning part of that cluster of the development. So I look at that plan and it's a nice plan. There's times where I've told people that I don't really like what they're bringing here. So this on the front end is nice, and I've seen what the property owner does when they actually follow through and build it, and it's good, it's quality. So I welcome it in the Fifth Ward, I welcome it in the town, and like I said, hopefully the rest of the board has a positive view of it as well. But it does fit the plan.
As far as the dwelling units, how many units are there? Are they 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom? What are they?
At this point, they're mostly 1 bedroom with some 2 bedrooms, and it's 26 dwelling units.
Okay, and we're not going to add any more traffic lights or anything in that area?
I do not anticipate that there will be any traffic lights added.
Well, we have the traffic light for down here. Yeah, no, I'm just making sure there's not putting more traffic lights to
There's
go
one right
in
in
and
front
out.
of it now.
So it looks like they're going to have to come out and go north. And then they're going to have to use the turnaround to go back
Well,
down
there's a traffic
south.
light right in front.
Yeah, well, there's one in front of the Poughkeepsie Ford.
There's one right in front of there, right next to
Front of
Dunkin'
there,
Donuts.
too?
Right by the Dunkin' Donuts there.
I misunderstood what he stood. I thought we were going to do something different.
Okay.
It's fine the way it is, and that shouldn't negatively impact it with one drive out and one drive in.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And what about the Ford House? I realize that's outside the boundaries of this, but is there any interest of going ahead with that and seeing, there was a person who was interested in making that into a restaurant?
Can you hear me?
Not really.
Pardon me. How's that?
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Schurshin. The Ford House is stable as it is.
Yes.
There is, in our future planning, it's not included, as you noticed, in this plan presented before you for an overlay. But we do intend that in the future, that building will be reused as a restaurant. But that is, as I say, it's not part of this application. There will be at the time some expansion of that house at some appropriate point, I would assume in the rear, in order to make it function as a restaurant due to its present. Right now, it's about a 4,000-foot building. As you know, I don't want to take a lot of time digressing about the Ford House, but it's a 2-story building.
Yes.
And it only has about 2,000 feet on each floor, and they're both in an L-shaped configuration. So to get a kitchen to serve a restaurant in its present configuration, it's going to require some expansion for that to work.
Yeah, we had.
And it will require parking around it, things like that. But I don't really want to go on at much greater length because it's not part of this application.
But you're talking like the foreseeable future.
I
so
do
that's a
say
good
this
thing,
is in the
'cause,
foreseeable future.
yeah, there's been some concerns raised again about the roof, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, in the foreseeable future, you will be seeing something further from us in that regard.
Anybody else have anything else? Plan looks fine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and we'll give everybody a chance to dig through it and look deeper, and I'll get back to you shortly. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a public hearing now?
What?
Is there a public hearing now?
There's no public
No
hearing at
public.
all tonight, Michelle. This is the committee of the whole meeting. We had our first presentation and the next one's about to begin.
Mr. Tinkleman.
Done. And then connect to Zoom. If you connect to the Zoom, it takes us, you go to
Yeah, that one is right across. That goes right across the corner. Friendly Ford will stay on that intersection, they own that piece. Where Friendly Ford has their cars, that's part of the property.
But you don't want to see a lot of light.
Oh, we don't need any more of those.
I know.
So you don't take them.
So we're on? There we go. What do you know?
Good evening. My name is Stephen Tinkelman, Tinkelman Architecture, and with me is Don Petricola.
Talk right into it.
Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you. Don Petricola, who's runs the architectural studio for our firm. We're here to present tonight to you a project called 200 Manchester, which is on Route 55 and Spy Hill. There's an intersection. I think from the maps that you can see, we're showing where the current site is. Currently, it's a 3+ acre site. There are two structures on it. One is a structure that has numerous uses in it, from residential to commercial. It's in a part of the site that's zone BN, and then there's another part to the site where there's a Dutch colonial single-family house on it that's in the middle of the site, and that area is an R20 zone. Our client purchased the site and came to us with the idea of trying to look at the commercial building and to repurpose that into a more modern commercial operation. We looked at it, and the building is really beyond, or at the point of it's beyond its useful life. The Dutch colonial building is in good shape and is currently rented out. So the question is, what do you do with the site? Because it's an area that is actually between a very busy highway and a residential neighborhood up the hill from the project site. And we did an evaluation of it and made a recommendation to see if it could work for 50 units on the property. Through subsequent discussions with your planner and such, we realized that the site did not fit into the current zoning, and that maybe the 50 units was a little bit too dense for the project. So what we're here tonight to do is to present. What we'd like to do is rezone the site to RN and to develop 28 units, and to also repurpose the Dutch colonial building in the center of the site. You can see, I guess from this image, it shows the commercial building with a commercial or an apartment building that's attached to the back of it, and you can see the rental house, as I mentioned earlier. To give you some context, we show some photographs of what the building currently looks like, and there's two views of that. The next image shows at the top of the site, as you get to Spy Hill, you can see this is the image on the right, that you can see the Dutch colonial building, and further beyond that is the commercial structure, and you can see how the road bends to the subdivision up above. The site is interesting in that is on a slope that goes about 20 feet in elevation from down on 55 up towards the back end of the site. The back end of the site, also, or I guess it's the east side of the site, you also have a Town of Poughkeepsie substation there. So the project for 28 units is about 9 units per acre. It's actually a very, low dense use that we're proposing here. The design of the site is kind of centered around the Dutch Colonial, which wants to be a community building for the units, for the tenants. The building will have in it not only community space and a gym and possibly an overnight facility for the the tenants if they have a parent or a child come to visit and they don't have room in their apartment. There's also plans for outdoor amenities for off of this building that would be part of the design that we would propose. So the idea was to stitch in a project that would serve as a good transition from the highway to the back of the site. There's currently and if we're on the site plan, you can see there's a one-way entrance that is coming from the west to east, which exists now, and it would just be improved. So that certainly takes off some of the pressure on the intersection. However, if you know that intersection, it's way over-designed for what the current use is there. So this will really have no impact whatsoever on what improvements need to be made on the highway. But the idea is to create some real nice green space along the road, so it's a real attractive element here. We're showing you what we think the site plan is, but we really haven't designed the buildings. I want you to get a sense of what the scale is, but it's really not the look of the project. We recently finished a project in LaGrange called LaGrange Farms, and it has 107 units on that. In the buildable area that we worked on, the density is twice what we're proposing here, and one of the reasons for the success of that project is that it has a good amount of green space, open space, and so this would really be beyond that in terms of the amenity packages that we're proposing. We have 2 building types. The 2 that surround the Dutch Colonial are 3-story buildings, and they each have 10 units in there. What's nice about the scaling of it is that the top of those buildings will, and the buildings behind it are 2-story buildings, and they're carriage house structures with their own garages and such. The roofs of the 3-story, are given the slope on the property, would really match what the height of the carriage houses would be, and the carriage houses are of the scale of the residential units in Spy Hill. So the idea is to try to create something that really blends in nicely with that neighborhood and creates a nice entrance. You can see along Spy Hill that where we're coming into the site is also close to the highway, so that there's very little impact on the residential neighborhood above. The site has considerable amount of trees into where we're building, but through the planting plan, you can actually design this so that it's completely screened from the residential units up above. Some of the other features that we're including are garages for the 10-unit structures. Again, the focus in the center here is really that Dutch Colonial building that we repurpose and use as a central element, for creating a sense of place here.
Are you marketing this for families or for seniors, or is there a mix?
Good question. I think we're right now focused on 2-bedroom units, so they're large enough that it's really designed for a diverse community. We're looking at the idea of putting play facilities on there, just so there is something if you have children. We haven't gotten that far into the design. We really wanted to talk to the board, talk to you tonight, to get a sense of whether this could be something that you would consider for a rezone. We have a couple of images here, and they're not designs, but we really wanted you to see the scale so that you can get a sense of how much green space is really around here. There is no landscape design yet. If we're rezoned to, the RM zone, that we meet all the bulk requirements of that zone in terms of setbacks, parking, open space, and we exceed them in a substantial way. This is really a light imprint on this site. The last part is that there's water, sewer, gas, everything is in place here. My client's not looking for a tax pilot. So it's a pure market rate project. Anything you want to add on?
We're good.
So the request here would be for consideration to rezone this. The rezoning only allows us to get 19 units. We would then have the obligation to go to the zoning board and to request a denser project. The onus is on us to have a real nice design so that the zoning board could consider it. But with your support, it would make a big difference. And again, the first step would be to request the rezoning so that the BN and the R20 would become the RM zone. The other part of it is, and the last comment is that this is not a place for single-family homes. So the bulk of the site, a little over the 2 acres, is zoned, half acre. So, we could get, a bulk of units here, but it's really not a place where you want to have single-family homes, given the fact that the highway is right here. That this is really more appropriate. It would really create a sense of place. It would beautify the highway. You can see the result of single-family houses currently on 55 nearby. A lot of them are not home. They're not owner-occupied. And I think one of the reasons is that it's more for apartments than for larger lots, single-family lots. So thank you for listening. If anyone has any questions, I'm glad to.
How close is your nearest house to that up behind it? Not Spy Hill, I know where that is, going behind it.
The closest house, can you go to that second shot?
Well, this is probably yes, sure. Well, yeah, the second one will do it right here. So along Spy Hill, you see the first house on the left there. That is going to be your closest building.
So that's
behind the
direct.
project. You know how far back the next house is?
If there's that
On
one
Spy Hill
photograph
itself.
that shows the top of Spy Hill.
Well, we got the site plan here. So this is the house we just saw in the photograph. The next house here along Spy Hill,
All right.
behind the property,
That's what I was looking
is
at.
here. There's a existing mature buffer of trees that we wouldn't be touching, so that certainly helps. But this is where the development of Spy Hill really begins, right in this area and coming up.
Is that buffer trees on the lot that you guys are looking to develop?
Yes, and they'll remain. One of the great things about this is that there's plenty of room on the site, so the idea of, as a requirement or as even an aesthetic decision, would be to create buffer. And so in essence, this would be completely distinct from the residential subdivision up above.
And the quality, is that comparable to what you have? I'm trying to figure out, Mike, the project that you have over
Van
Wagner
Place?
Van Wagner Place?
Yes.
Is that, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be similar to the LaGrange Farms project too.
Okay, that's out, what was that before?
That was Lewis Country
Yeah,
Farms was
okay.
there?
Yeah, which is really nice.
Thank you.
And, I mean,
Just not so big.
That's actually
Smaller
right
scale.
here.
I'm sorry?
Just a smaller scale.
Smaller scale.
how many acres is this lot?
It's a little over 3 acres, 3.2.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the density here, if in another world, actually, when I had the conversation with Mike Bolte, and I hate to, to paraphrase him, but he also felt, that from a planning point of view, you could put more units here and still be successful with it. Again, the ordinance doesn't, one of the things Mike was very direct about is that the ordinance doesn't, have a designation that would be appropriate for here. So that's that's why we have to, one is get your support to change the zone, but we still have the risk to go back to the zoning board to ask for more density. I think the design of this, once it's in our three-dimensional modeling so that you can see the whole thing, you'll really realize that this is a very green, open project that lends itself for quality housing.
When we first came, it was like 50 units, wasn't it? When we had our first discussion?
Yes.
So I mean, I hate to be positive twice in a row, but I might have to do that. I think it's a nice project. I think when you take a look at that property where it is currently, it's like there's a nice vision as to how to transform it. I drive by that and I wouldn't have seen this as the result of a new project there. So I like the creativity. I also like the different sort of housing units that you're putting into the town. I think we need a mix, and we need stuff that, you know, we need some like affordable, we need some higher end, we need some mid-range. This looks like it's going to be a nice quality project. It doesn't look super dense. I've seen them. There's one that came in where it's just row after row after row after row, and you look at it and you get dizzy just looking at the view of it, and you just can't imagine jamming that many people into a property. This looks like it. I think at the end of the day, what we want is nice places for people to live in our town. This looks like it could be a nice place for people to live in our town. And again, I've seen the project that you've done, the projects, and what you propose is usually even better. The net result is usually even better. So it's nice when you have a developer that like says, I'm going to do something, then goes out and does it. And you don't walk away being like, geez, that didn't, you know, it was supposed to be 2 buildings like this, and now it's just 1 building blocking the entire road. You know, you look at some of these things when they change over in the process, it doesn't look as good as you hoped it would. Your projects, the one, Lawrence Farms, that's beautiful. Like, it's really nice. So
Thank you.
your Van Wagner Road, that's really nice. The Van Wagner Road is one where, when you started it, I had no idea exactly what you were doing over there, and now the net result, you look at it and like, that's a nice project. It's kind of cool that we have that in our town. So I like this.
Yeah, I'm glad you're not trying to maximize the number of units, because when people do that, it really doesn't make it a nice project. Just
It wouldn't fit in with the, you know, because again, you're trying to transition between a busy highway and be respectful of the houses above. As a commercial site, you know, you'd say, well, why not put retail there? And I think there was an attempt to do that at one point in time, but it's not a retail site really. It's,
not anymore. At one time it was, but just not anymore.
yeah.
Is that where Watts is? Is there a?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah, I think that's what that, right?
Yeah,
It's that little,
yeah, but all that's left now is there's a janitorial supply
Yeah, I think
store.
that's Watts.
That's it. The
Yeah.
paint store's out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, but, and that is, it does make a nice transition into the neighborhood, because if you put commercial in there, there'd guaranteed be some sort of use that would be upsetting to the people who live up there, whether it's a restaurant or whatever. Either the noise, the traffic, the smells. You put housing in there leading into a residential neighborhood, it does make for a really nice transition off of major roadway.
You could make an odd point that if this is done nicely, that through good landscaping, the placement of the buildings and all that, that it actually creates a nice buffer between the highway and the residential above on the top of the hill. So, you know, again, we don't ask here for, you know, to work on, we appreciate your comments. By the way, we just broke ground, or we're breaking ground on the 5-story on our site. So you can see we just put the construction fences up in the last couple of days. So after all these years, it's kind of nice to finally get that going. But, you know, we know that the risk is on us to go in front of the zoning board, and we got to show a site-specific project that, you know, that the zoning board has to embrace. So, you know, again, we appreciate the comments. I think this is really a good addition to the town in that area.
And I'd just like to say this does fit in with our latest comprehensive plan that was calling for removing of buildings and sites that just don't work anymore. They're frankly unattractive, and do infilling. So this was something that was called for in our comprehensive plan. I think it fits well into the neighborhood.
Anything else? Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you
We'll
very
get back
much.
to you, and we'll reach out to Mike. One of us will get back to you.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the committee reports?
You want to start? Finance?
Nothing to report.
Technology committee?
Yes, last month we had 8,600 views on our website, and the main topic of concern was leaf pickup schedules. No surprises there. Then on our email list, we added another 105 new subscribers, and we have a total of 6,500 subscribers to our email site. And other things that have been going on, the new phone systems. There's been new phones put on the desks in Town Hall, and they're going through the process of testing them. And then also, they've been working on getting a new supplier for our billing, for online billing. And also, they're working on having a new water billing system so that we can be billed more frequently. And also, we're working on getting our emails backed up in the cloud. So that's it.
Well, and along that line of the statement about the water line billing, it's not only billing, it'll be on-spot billing for the moment. Now we go out, we do sections of the town, quarterly. They'll be able to bill and read daily. So if there's a high water or somebody's got a broken water main, inside their house or something, it'll trigger and go off in the water department. So first thing in the morning, you have to be away and you're using thousands of gallons of water instead of getting a $10,000 water bill. They should be able to find a lot more of those things, and they'll alert us to any high water alarms anybody's had along the thing. So besides just a different billing system, which will get all our billing up to date with our accountants at the end of the year, so we can bill and close out the accounts at the end of the year instead of running into 3, 4, and 5 weeks next year, where it's almost impossible to backtrack with the way we bill and the way the bills get sent out to actually finalize a year. So it's going to help in that, but it's also going to help the residents if there's a water main break on their property or something, that we will be able to reach out to them and notify them about what's going on a lot quicker than when we go out and read quarterly and get a high water alarm after a quarterly read.
Yeah, because it's amazing how much damage even just a running toilet that someone doesn't notice can cause to a water bill. Because I've had residents come in with $600, $700 water bills that it was just the toilet running.
Recreation.
Yes, the Recreation Department's working on the 2023 projects and events. Keep an eye on the website for all the event updates. They'll keep them updated regularly. And the seniors had their holiday party yesterday, and I was told it was a big hit.
Yeah, Mill Creek Catering was where they went this year. It was a different location. They had a small room downstairs, which was well decorated. Besides the seniors being well decorated, they were all dressed out in the reds and greens. It was very nicely done. This year, the event on Raymond Avenue for the holiday event wasn't as well attended as we expected, but it was not the best day going. And the caravan this year, we changed routes and we went all the way down through Spackman Kill. We ended up with 35 vehicles in the caravan, so it was a great turnout for that. And I want to thank the group involved in Raymond Avenue Holiday Fair and the caravan. I think it was very well attended and very well liked by people. Being it was a bad night, we had a lot of people in the caravan were standing at their doors, so they still got to get some excitement without actually having to leave their homes. Fire advisory, sir.
Yeah, just a couple of public safety announcements there. With the holiday season, of course, be careful with the use of candles. A lot of people like to use candles around the holiday time. Try to keep them at least 12 inches away from anything that's combustible or that can burn. Don't leave the house with them leave them unattended. Just a little statistic that was thrown out there that more than half of the home decoration fires in December are caused by candles. So just be careful. The same thing with trees. If you have real trees out there, make sure you keep them watered. I think everybody knows that a dried tree burns fast, it burns hot. And like I said, you also want to keep them away 3 feet away from anything that is heat. And try to discard them as soon as Christmas is over, but really just keep them watered.
I saw a video of a Christmas tree, the dried out Christmas tree getting lit on fire, and it's shocking how quickly that turns into this huge torch. It's weird. You wouldn't think of it, but yeah, it's scary that those exist in everybody's
Yeah,
houses.
there's a lot of them.
Infrastructure,
Nothing to report.
personnel.
Nothing to report.
Building consolidation, as you've all known, we've been working on the Poughkeepsie Day School. We brought it in front of everybody last week, and we're gonna work on it some more, and we'll bring it back out sometime in January for further discussion. And with that said, I'd like to go on to our town board meeting and open it up for public comment on any item on the agenda, and ask everybody to please leave their comments to 3 minutes.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Shalley?
Good evening, Jim Challey, 35 Park Avenue. I would hope that one of the things you would be considering would be reopening the search process for a new police and court facility. I think we're all agreed that it's an urgent issue, and I think we're all agreed that we want to find the best site possible for this. If you're looking for a model for this search, I would suggest the structure and the committee structure and the process that we went through when we revised the master plan. This was a process that was open, reached out to the public, and tried to actively involve all the different stakeholders, from the business community to the taxpayers. And I think that would be a very good way of moving forward on this. Second thing I want to say is I was sad to learn yesterday that C.J. Parakis was resigning from the Recreation Department. I've worked with C.J. quite a bit on Peach Hill. He's a terrific young man, smart, ambitious. He's going to be a real loss, but I also just wanted to say thank you to CJ for the work that he's put in, not just on Peach Hill, but all around the town in recreation. He's going to be missed. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Anybody else? Doreen?
So I want to talk about the Poughkeepsie Day School and see that according to the materials that were out there, the town board was set to make themselves lead agency and to issue a seeker deck, meaning it's a negative declaration. The project won't result in significant adverse environmental impacts. But as the lead agency, you're responsible for reviewing the EAF, the environmental assessment form, and you have to make sure that the information is correct and any missing information is supplied. And I was looking over some other sections, and I would ask you to look at the EAF Part 1, page 4, under project operations regarding excavation. And several of the questions are answered to be determined. And so I don't know how you can issue a negative declaration without information relating to the amount of rock and earth that's going to be removed from the site and how it will be transported, how many tons or cubic yards, and how that would impact truck traffic on the road for removal of that excavated material. And that also then carries through to Part 2 on impact on land. And that asks several questions. Is it about the size of the impact? And I don't know how several of those questions could be answered no without having quantified the amount of truck traffic and the associated noise from that. And also regarding rock removal, the construction cost narrative said that $400,000 in site hammering and or blasting had been allocated. And yet, on section Part 2, question 15, impact on noise, odor, and light, it was answered no regarding blasting on the site. And I have written this down, I will hand it in. And it's asked if blasting will occur within 1,500 feet of a licensed daycare or nursing home. And it was answered no, and yet there's a Honeybee Child Care Center located right across the road. and as well the landing assisted living that has a memory care unit. So I'm concerned about the accuracy of some of that information and the fact that some is missing. I'd also like to say that it wasn't clear to me that if the town is considering adding any other facilities onto the site, such as the town highway department, and if any of those facilities are going to be included, that really should be part of this, so you're not running into segmentation under seeker. And the last thing I wanted to say is about the intersection at Boardman and Spackenkill Roads. And some of those approaches to the intersection are said to worsen under the build conditions. And even though an eastbound left turn lane has been proposed, there's going to be an increase in a delay in one of the approaches, even with that turn lane. And the other thing is, do you know if the DOT is going to allow you to install that turn lane? Because it seems like the DOT, when there were previous discussions about the Boardman Spackenkill intersection, they weren't really open to any changes. So you're proposing something that could worsen the conditions, and yet, you know, there's a proposed mitigation that may not even, has a potential, at least in some of the approaches, to make it worse, and you don't know if the DOT is going to allow it. So that's something else that I think you should look into. And it's interesting that there was, I think it was Councilman Krakauer made the comment about the previous development there of the old Sunnyvale farm market site, and said, you know, about people in residential neighborhoods adjoining might, you know, have some concerns about, you know, impacts. So, and yet you guys are proposing what I believe to be significant impacts to residential neighborhoods in the area. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Anybody on Zoom that would like to speak about an agenda item?
Nope.
Make a
Anybody?
motion. Make a motion, someone else?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign a stormwater management facility inspection and maintenance easement and agreement and any supporting and recording documents in regards to the Guardian Self-Storage Climate Control Storage Facility in substantially the form attached. And be it further resolved that such acceptance and authorization by the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is subject to the approval of all final documents by the town attorney, planning board attorney, town engineer, and director of municipal development for the town of Poughkeepsie. So moved.
Second. A motion, second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
I have a
Number 3, the SC.
presentation.
You got this one, you wanna read it, or you got it?
Okay. Resolution number 14, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby grant special consent to the following items, to wit: accept resignation of Gershom Singh, police officer. 2, accept resignation of Charles Bukaris, recreation leader. 3, authorize supervisor to sign residential water tenancy at 10 Marple Road. 4, notification, notice of claim referred to legal. Elgert versus town.
So moved.
So moved.
Just a clarification, it was 10 Maple Road.
10 Maple Road.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
SC1, be it resolved, the town board, town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the resignation of police officer Gershon Singh from the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department effective December 7, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the resignation of Charles Parekas from the town of Poughkeepsie Recreation Department effective December 6, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Any questions?
No, we're gonna miss him, just.
Yeah, we are gonna miss him. He just got our baseball fields updated. He just took all the training that we needed, but we've got, we're doing interviews now for a replacement for him. and I think we'll move forward well. But I do thank CJ for his hard work.
I agree. He'll be missed. He was very good, but I wish him the best of luck in his endeavor. It was a rough decision for him to leave also, so, good luck, CJ. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign and the town board to enter into a residential water tenancy service agreement on the town's current standard conditions, including connection fees and subject to fulfillment of such additional requirements as may be needed to provide service to this Hyde Park property without impairment of the town's rights, including those of collection and levy with Lucille Depew and other owners, 10 Marple Road, Hyde Park, New York. So moved.
Second.
Maple again.
Okay, Maple Road, 10 Maple
Any
Road.
questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0. Number 4 is a notice of claim, Englert versus the town. That brings us to the end of our agenda for tonight. This is everybody left. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any other item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to speak on any town issue?
Going
Anybody?
once, going twice. Make a motion to resume the rules?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Sure.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Michelle.
speak. Please limit it to 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm very disappointed that, the meeting ID number and, the call-in number were both changed, very close to when this, particular meeting was to be held. And I know that there are more people that would have wanted to, contribute, to the Poughkeepsie, conversation about the Poughkeepsie Day School. I understand that you will be opening it up, to the public again in January. Is that true?
Michelle, the public hearing at this time is closed. People are entitled to public comment at any meeting we have. They have anything on the agenda, so if it comes back on the agenda, yes, they do get a chance to speak on it, public hearing or not.
All right, so, my question is, are you going to proceed with the Poughkeepsie Day School purchase and construction?
Michelle, as I stated before, we are putting together our thoughts, and we will be back when we make a decision on what our next step will be.
Okay, so where will we find that next step?
When we put it on the agenda and we decide where we're going, what we're doing, and what our next step will be, we will make it public so everybody knows where we're going and what we're doing. Whether it's proceeding with the school, not proceeding with the school, putting together a group, not putting together a group. Our next steps will be out there in the public. Please watch the website. It's been out there for 2 years now.
Okay, listen, I want to make sure that the town does consider the legal aspect of when you allow all of this infrastructure, which City Smart consultants will be looking to bring into this, because it suits the town, in terms of making income to offset construction costs. So this, company, Cityscape, that's what they do. They do not protect municipalities. What they do is they help raise revenue for municipalities. So, looking at their website, one could tell based on the kinds of articles that they put forward, there was nothing on the matter of health and the last large ruling that went against the FCC for its guidelines that are anything but, adequate. So, I want the town to consider this because, especially in light of Woodstock, just this evening, they now have the strongest 5G ordinances in the country, and their board just approved of this Andrew Campanelli update to their telecom code. Our telecom code is still nowhere. It's still, I guess, in discussion. I have no idea. I'm hoping that there will be a telecom code update before the Poughkeepsie Day School development, and Cityscape is going to do what they want to do. you know,
Michelle,
to
please wrap it
protect
up.
everybody, their residents and the police. So, you know, those are the major points that I wanted to point out is the liability issue, the joint venture partnership that you're going to engage in once you put all of these antenna up and 5G up in this area, and then spread it out throughout the whole community.
Michelle, could you wrap it
So
up?
it's not just Poughkeepsie Day School that I'm addressing. I'm addressing your, or the town council's intentions and the lack of our telecom code update. So anyway, thank you for letting me speak. And
Thank you.
like I said, I'm very disappointed that this entire meeting was a disruption for people that wanted to contribute, but because the meeting code and phone number was changed last minute.
It was a
I'm
mistake,
very-
Michelle,
I'm
sorry
very-
about that.
Michelle, mistakes happen.
Forgivable.
It was a mistake, it was put on the website, we put it on the front of the community channel, then we watched it on TV. We are not voting on any public hearings, so things
At the
do happen.
time, after the meeting took place, so, or began, so that's not good. Let's not do that again.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
I'll do my best.
Anybody have anything else?
Okay.
Anybody else want to speak on any town issue?
Make a motion, resume the rules?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Ranahan?
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the following: collective negotiation pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law to discuss matters which are exempt under the open meeting law, including matters subject to attorney-client privilege, and be it further resolved that no action appropriating money will be taken. So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Town board goes in executive session, 8:05 PM.
Happy holidays.
Yep, we wish everybody a lovely and happy holiday